So if you think about the last few decades, recent economic growth has really pulled hundreds and millions of people out of poverty. But even as these countries have become richer, many citizens have got left behind. And this is an issue that I think has increasingly drawn the ire of many when they think about the work economists have done. Because mainstream economics models have typically given little importance to economic inequality in how they shape political dialogue, voter choice, and ultimately policy. But this is changing in part by brute force as events around the world cause economists to recognize that inequality matters. And economists are now beginning to emphasize the facts that trends such as globalization and automation of job processes are sharply creating winners and losers. There's also increasing recognition that the political process and public policy must directly respond to many of these inequities that are created in the marketplace. However, if you look at the literature, a lot of the emphasis is still mainly on thinking about class-based inequalities. Economists still give relatively little attention when we think of inequalities that are shaped by ethnicity, by religion, and by gender, and to the ways in which these characteristics of identity and the social and cultural norms that surround them are in turn being reshaped by forces of globalization and nationalism. How do women fare in this changing economic environment? On one hand, research suggests that we see greater emphasis on soft skills. There's less need for brute force in many of the jobs being done, and this should arguably benefit women. On the other hand, automation is also slowing down the rate at which jobs are growing. One of my colleagues, Danny Roderick, has argued that developing countries like India, Nepal, Pakistan, Bangladesh are going to see a slower growth in manufacturing and perhaps a faster deindustrialization because of the changing nature of jobs. And this may disadvantage women. When jobs are scarce, many communities may feel that men have more of a right to work than women. And a lifetime effects of gender discrimination, meaning that women typically have less human capital to start with than men. Equally, country demographics are changing fast, and as life expectancy increases, women's role in the care economy may grow. But care work, we know, remains underpaid the world over. A different force is the recent resurgence of nationalist politics in some countries. This also poses important questions for the place of women in society. As citizens and countries ask what defines the national identity, will these societies turn inwards and ask that women uphold traditional feminine roles, or will there be greater acceptance of changing gender roles and evolving social norms? And this is the background against which we hope that this event will provide one forum to discuss how changing gender inequities are being shaped by these forces and to diagnose their impact on citizens and nations' well-being and how public policy can play a role. We see this regional dialogue as a unique opportunity to focus on the similarities and differences in how men and women engage with economic opportunities across South Asia, and what is the role of social and cultural norms in shaping this engagement. Over the last 3 decades, we know that South Asia has done very well when it comes to economic growth. And yet we see a lot of differences in how growth has shaped these economic opportunities. The set of graphs as you enter the room gives you some sense of just how varied the experience of different countries has been. One area of my focus, and I think of many in this room, has been labor force participation. And I think one of the most striking graphs that you see is the sheer variation in gender gap in labor force across countries. So you can have on one hand a country like Nepal where men and women are roughly participating at the same rate. And then you start seeing these large differences emerge in other countries. And the issue is not just about the static difference in the gender gap, but also how it's evolving over time. As economic growth has progressed, we see countries like Bangladesh and Pakistan increase the opportunities that women have, and on the other hand, we see a country like India actually fall behind in female labor force participation. Between 1990 and 2015, India's real GDP quadrupled, but its female labor force participation actually fell from 37% to 28%. One concern that people often state when we say that we're going to look at women's labor force participation is maybe this is not a good thing, maybe this is not what women want to do. But repeatedly, what we also see in a set of surveys is evidence that women want to work. Just to give you one example, in the India's National Sample Survey, over a third of women engaged primarily in housework say that they would like to have a job. And this number rises to close to half if we consider the set of educated women in rural India, the most educated women. Why do women want to work? Data also gives us some suggestion of the reasons why this is important. We find in research that girls who have the option to work, or even those who have an older sister, marry later. So they seem to have some ability to have greater choice over the lifetime decisions they make. Later marriage, in turn, we know is related with delayed childbearing, and this in turn is associated with reduced maternal mortality. It is also very likely that an entire economy grows much faster when its most able citizens are able to start with at least enter the labor force and then make their own choices of whether and how they want to engage with it. One unique feature that we see across a significant fraction of South Asia is constraints on women's mobility. The 2011 Indian Human Development Survey, which is particularly interesting because it's a panel that has followed women over 10 years, shows that there's been very little change in women's reported mobility. Roughly half of India's rural women still state that they require permission from a family member, even to go to the local market or the health center. And in the end, it's pretty difficult to get a job if you can't leave the house without asking someone else. And this is the kind of issue that we hope we will discuss in the dialogue. Family pressures are also more salient for women in staying on in the labor force. Recently, a number of countries in South Asia have begun to invest very significantly in skills development. This is a huge opportunity for South Asia to benefit from the demographic dividend that is coming its way. But when we look at dropout, we see high dropout of women both at the stage of training, but then also after they get their first job. And when you ask men and women what are the reasons that they drop out, we see sharply different reasons. For men, the most common reason is low wages. And that's a force that I think economists know how to think about, how to react to. But for women, the most common reason is family pressure, that they have actually been asked to return to their house or they didn't get permission to leave. And I think as people interested in thinking about the role of research in defining policy, we have a much less of a sense of how we change or affect this force. There's clearly things we can learn across countries here. If you look at Bangladesh, we see in Bangladesh, women were able to access garment industry. They were able to go and start working in those jobs. If you look at Pakistan, my colleague Asam Khwaja, who's been working in skills development, tells me that there are ways of designing skills training programs that actually allow women to access and remain in it. How can we make this broader? And how can we, more importantly, ask about changing social norms in a way that is able to give all its citizens, but particularly women, the agency that they want? As researchers, it's difficult to often answer this question. One reason economics has more traditionally focused on income inequality and less on the role of identity and social norms is because the impact of identity and social norms can be very hard to measure. So let me give you an example. I think there would be broad agreement that empowering women is a good thing. But if I start asking how should we empower women or how should we measure whether women are empowered, we have a lot of difference. I think even the simple question of should a society where more women work be seen as a more empowered society is not one on which we would find widespread agreement. And for this reason, I think it becomes particularly important to start thinking about what are the different links in the chain that go from a woman's preferences to actually what we observe her as doing and how she's able to do that. Simply focusing on one outcome, which is very common in a lot of research papers, which is stated preferences or stated ability to make decisions in the household, can be misleading. Let me conclude with one example here. One program that over the years has seen a lot of attention is microfinance. It's very often seen as an extremely important way of empowering women. And a very reasonable way of thinking about empowerment is the fact that women seem to be able to access these loans and repay these loans. However, you may worry a lot about who takes these loans. Maybe they were very different to start with. And so economists, development economists have in recent times spent a lot of time trying to think about ways of addressing the selection issue and really identifying who is able to access the loan, and if we can control for that, can we actually say something about the impacts of microfinance on women's economic empowerment. So in January 2015, there was an issue of the American Economic Journal of Applied Economics, which was really a landmark in the study of microfinance. It used the same methodology across 6 countries to report on the impacts of microfinance. And when it came to women's empowerment, the answer was depressing. They found that when you look at women's stated decision-making power in the family, so in terms of do you have a say in how food is distributed, do you have a say in how money is spent, microfinance seemed to have very little effect. But if you look at different outcomes, you find different effects. So in India, which was arguably the most conservative of the set of countries where female-only lending was being studied, total household labor supply went up, primarily through self-employed activities. And it's reasonable to assume that this probably reflects that women worked more. And yet at the same time, we saw that women's reported decision-making did not change. And it's reasonable to think that by the time a woman who still lives in a socially conservative environment will tell a surveyor how she successfully challenged conventions and asserted her own preferences within the household, a substantial shift needs to have occurred. It may be easier for her to describe the work she's done with the loan rather than the struggle she faced in order to make it possible for her to take out the loan and start working. And this is a good reminder that there is a lot of nuance in trying to think about issues of the link between economic opportunities, social norms, and the choices that men and women make. I think we are delighted to have in this room people who come from many different aspects of thinking about women's place in the economy. We have practitioners, we have political leaders, we have people from the judiciary, we have researchers. And I hope that one thing we will be able to achieve over the next day is really a more nuanced understanding of what it would mean to not just move towards women's empowerment, but actually think about measuring it well. I think understanding these nuances is going to be a key step towards designing policies that benefit women, men, and society at large. And we very much look forward to hearing from many of you over the next day about the challenges that women face in your communities, and to together discover how theory and evidence can together help us craft potential solutions and then test them. So once again, thank you very much for being here, and I really look forward to our discussions.